Now this might just be the Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro killer you've been looking for. It's the Pulsar Xlite V3 size 3, which is a little confusing of a naming scheme since Zowee's 3 represents the smallest mouse, whereas Pulsar's 3 represents the biggest mouse. But this, if on paper, looks like it actually decimates the DeathAdder V3 Pro. It's a whole lot cheaper, it's a little bit lighter, has high-end specs as well, and it's also a large size ergo mouse. So is it? Well, spoiler alert, the answer is kind of a bit of a yes and a bit of a no. Many were very confused a couple of months ago when I compared the size 2 Xlite V3 with the Zowie EC3, which is the smallest model of Zowie versus the medium-sized model of the Pulsar. But it's simply because of the shape. Even though dimension-wise, the Xlite was very similar to the bigger EC2, the shape being more narrow with a gentler angle of tilt and being less puffy made it feel closer to the Lamzu Thorn and the EC3 rather than the Zowie EC2. The size 3 Xlite is kind of more of that. Even though the dimensions make it seem like it's a EC1 competitor, its size in real world use feels kind of like in between the Zowie EC1 and the EC2, which is just like the DeathAdder V3 Pro. Like other ergos in this heavily contested category, Xlite V3 size 3 has a rather familiar shape. You do get a tilt downwards towards the right, a right side that does slope out and flare out gradually to give you support for your pinky and fourth finger. You get a centered high hum that fills out your palm, and a arch inwards on the left to give you a nice place to put your thumb. And there are grooves on the clicks as well. However, it's slightly different to the EC and EC alikes in the market, like the DeathAdder V3 Pro, that in my opinion makes the Xlite shape work better for me, who uses a more aggressive palm grip or claw grip when I use the Xlite mouse. Compared to the Zowie shapes, you have shallower grooves on the clicks and the left thumb area, so everything feels a little flatter and less groovy. With a right side that also slopes out way less than the EC1 and the EC2. It also has a slightly lower hump than the EC1, and it has a lot less rightwards tilt than the DeathAdder V3 Pro and the Zowie EC1 and EC2. For my 19.5cm long hands, this still feels perfectly fine. The hump still fills up my palm, no issue, and honestly it feels as good in terms of palm support wise as the Zowie stuff and the Razer stuff. However, because of the flatter sides, the narrower overall body in terms of how it feels, and the less outwards sloping shape of the right side of the mouse, it's a lot easier to get a good grip and pinch on the mouse, which results in better stability and control in my opinion if you are using some sort of tighter grip like a claw, which is why I think this mouse makes for a great comparison with the Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro. The DeathAdder has a shape that, yes, works for roughly the same hand sizes as the Xlite V3 size 3, but because it has a more Zowie EC-esque shape with a narrower front click area, a steeper right hand tilt, and a puffier shape, as well as, most importantly, the right side sloping out more significantly, the mouse feels like a different animal, more EC-like, but with sizing between the EC2 and the EC1. As a result, you have the DeathAdder V3 Pro and the Xlite size 3 feeling like competitors, but different in enough ways to work for different grips. If you have more aggressive, tighter grips where your fingers are arched more and you're trying to apply force with your fingertips to control, stabilize, and have a tight grip on the mouse, like with claw, fingertip, or a more aggressive palm grip, the flatter sides on the Xlite size 3 feel significantly better for getting an easy, tight grip that gives you more control and stability. However, if what you prefer is maximum support, aka every single finger and every single part of your hand is being propped up by some groove, some curve, some line that gives you a whole hand support, especially for more relaxed palm grips, for example, then the EC-like shapes of the EC1 and the DeathAdder V3 Pro will probably be a better option shape-wise. Now, if you're coming from a symmetrical claw grip gaming mouse like a G Pro Superlight, then I would personally think the Xlite is going to be a more easy to get used to situation than the DeathAdder V3 Pro, thanks to its flatter, more vertical sides being more similar to the symmetrical claw grip mice that really are the most popular these days. As for size recommendations, the size 3 Xlite is an interesting one. I think this should be fine for anyone who likes palm gripping the EC2 or the DeathAdder V3 Pro, but if the EC1 is just nice or almost too small for you to palm grip, so the Xlite V3 size 3 is definitely going to be a little small for your needs. Now, if you like claw gripping any of the EC1, 2 or DeathAdder V3 Pro though, weirdly enough, I think the Xlite V3 size 3 should be perfectly fine, since the sleeker, more symmetrical shape is more forgiving to more hand sizes or claw grip in my experience. So in one of my weirdest size recommendations, this is going to be a good fit for medium size hands of 18 to 21 centimeter long for palming, and for larger hands about 19 centimeter long and above to claw. If you are fingertip gripping this mouse, well, you probably need some big limbs, so I'm not going to give size recommendations because I'm not Bigfoot. As for other aspects of this mice, it's the same as other Xlites, which is excellent. You have a 3395 sensor. It's not the latest anymore. There's a 3950 coming, but honestly, it's perfectly fine. It has support for 4000 Hz polling rate dongles, which I think with 500 Hz displays is a must have. Excellent build quality despite only being 58 grams of weight and having holes on the bottom. Oh, and it has really good weight balance as well. It feels extremely light. The clicks are optical and in my opinion significantly better than the first batch of Xlite V2 size 2, so that's good news. There is basically no pre-travel. There is a little bit of squishy post-travel, which I don't mind all that much, and the thumb buttons are decent, though they have a little bit too much play and looseness for my liking. The scroll wheel is classic Pulsar, so really solid and crisp. I have no complaints. And yes, there are holes. The coating is also pretty good too. I think it's as good, if not better, than the DeathAdder V3 Pro. Though if you think it's still too slippery, you can buy some super grip tape. Now, I keep asking Pulsar to do this, but please Pulsar, throw in some free super grip tape in the box. It's some of the best grip tape I've ever used, and I think that will be a good kind of entryway, gateway drug into the world of Pulsar super grips. Build quality of this mouse is also really solid. It's not as sturdy as the Zowie EC stuff, which is a lot heavier, but it's as good as the DeathAdder V3 Pro. All in all then, the Pulsar Xlite V3 size 3. Is it a complete Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro killer? Well, it depends. If it's all based on price, then this is a no-brainer over the DeathAdder V3 Pro. It's close enough for any grip to the DeathAdder for a whole lot less money, and it has similar specs. It's competitive on many fronts, meaning it's going to be far better value for a lot of people. But if price is less of a concern and you just want to get the best possible shape for you, then it really boils down to what grip you have. If you have a palm grip shape that's really relaxed and you want full maximum supportiveness, the DeathAdder is a better choice. But if you want to have better stability, better control of your mice, you like pinching your mice, Xlite V3 size 3 is a far better shape in my opinion, though you might be free to disagree. And last but not least, if you thought the DeathAdder V3 Pro was too puffy, like I did, like it's too rounded and weird in certain areas, the Xlite V3 size 3 is far better in that. So that could also be a differentiator between the two mice for you as well. Before you go, if you're based in Singapore and you want to buy the Pulsar Xlite size 3 and you want the best price available in Singapore, check out thetechyard.com, which is my day job but also my project, and it's a lot of my blood, sweat and tears. So I would really appreciate if you make your next tech purchase on it, because we have great prices and a pretty good shopping experience. Not perfect yet, we're still working on it, but I would really appreciate the support, even if you're just browsing the site and leaving a comment down below for me to improve the project.